Welcome to Miles of Music Part 2, where we're in concert live with the incredible jazz guitar of Chuck Anderson. Chuck, great to see you again.
Same here, as always.
You look and sound marvelous.
Well, I'm telling you, that's what my wife tells me. Not too many other people do, but she's a supporter.
I mean that in a very brotherly
way.
Yeah.
I can't beat that.
Aside from being a great guitar player, you sing as well, correct?
Well, that's an interesting story. That's been a long-kept secret that very few people know. You know, and now everybody else will know. But at the time, early on in my career, I was actually courted by Columbia as a vocalist. So I was actually going to be a singer.
Columbia Records.
Columbia Records, yes. And back when there was Columbia, I guess. I don't know if there still is anymore, but music business has changed a lot since I started. But in any case, for whatever reason, I was really drawn towards the instrumental side of progressive jazz. And I was never a big fan of lyric. I always believed in expressing myself through notes, much like a cellist might express themselves through a Bach cello piece, you know what I mean? Which didn't need words either, you know. So anyway, what I did with that is, even though I was moving in that direction according to them, I did turn that contract offer down, and as we laughingly say, decided to pursue the more lucrative side of instrumental jazz.
Okay, and you speak about Bach. You are very well known for neoclassical guitar. Explain what that is.
Yes, neoclassical guitar is the newest or most modern form of guitar performing classical music. I basically took Niccolo Paganini, the virtuoso violinist, as my model and put together programs that had my original compositions, which is not typical in classical music, also transcriptions of Bach and Mozart and Chopin, etc., and also improvisation on international folk themes. I spent about 8 years pursuing that style. It was a solo guitar style. It was amplified. It was this type of guitar, like a Gibson L5 guitar. And I did 3 albums of that style, one called Kaleidophon, The Art of the Neoclassical Guitar, and 2 others which I've never released, but I have a hunch probably will be released.
What's the main distinction, with or without a pick?
With a pick. My style was with a pick on the right leg rather than the left leg, and no finger use at all, all striking with a pick.
And that's probably been frowned upon from strict classical players and critics, I would imagine.
Well, they did. X amount of people recognized it as innovative, and other and other batch of people recognized it as blasphemous. So
well, that's good. That's a good thing. That means you're doing something right. Correct?
Well, there was something to it. It was a kind of a chore to spend enough time with people to get them to understand it and to accept it.
Okay.
But it went well, and I think it was really the lack of it being jazz that eventually took me away from it, where I went back and revisited my roots, and then I've stayed in the jazz field since.
Okay, great. You worked behind many celebrities, vocalists primarily.
Yes.
From what venue? Where did that come about?
Well, I was staff guitar at the Latin Casino in Cherry Hill, New Jersey when I was 21. And although people don't remember it now because it's been gone for a long time, it was the premier showplace, particularly the East.
Oh, I remember.
You remember that? It was as close to the Vegas casinos as you could be, but it was in Cherry Hill.
Sure.
And there I worked with everybody from Peggy Lee to Billy Eckstine to Bobby Darin to Nancy Wilson, and I mean on and on and on. There's a big list of them,
Legends upon legends.
Legend upon legends. Sammy Davis Jr., Michel Legrand,
Sure.
And then after that, I was staff guitar at Valley Forge Music Fair, which is a little less long gone, but still
great
gone.
Venue.
Great venue. That was a beautiful theater, and I worked there for 7 or 8 years doing all the staff work.
Okay, okay. And as far as your creative side, I noticed as a guitar player, which I like about your playing, it's very chordal. But if I had to define the type of sound you're playing with the chords, it's a dense, dark type sound.
Right.
And why is that?
Well, I suppose a therapist would relate it to my growing up. Well, probably not.
Yeah.
I think the reason why is if I had anybody I was most influenced by, it was Wes Montgomery, who I had a personal relationship when I was about 16 years old. And Wes, of course, played this exact guitar, except not quite this elaborate. This is the Green Hornet now, we call it.
That's beautiful.
Thanks. It's as if B.B. King can have Lucille, I can have the Green Hornet. But I think that the overall sound back then was amplifiers that weren't as bright, strings that weren't as bright, and of course Wes played with his thumb,
Right.
which also darkened the sound. So if anything, it's probably that, and I think what you might call or not call excessive chordal work has to do with the fact that I always work trio. I don't work with a group that has a keyboard. So it's guitar, bass, and drums. No,
Oh, okay.
no. And so therefore, if I don't play the chords, nobody else is going to play the chords.
Okay.
So it's all got to be me.
And this evening is a trio, guitar, bass, and drums as well.
As always.
Okay,
As
great,
always, we can count on that one.
And what can we count on as far as musically to listen to?
Well, tonight what we're going to do is we're going to do a kind of a collection sampling of 3 CDs. The Vintage Track CDs, which I did with my original group way back when. Al Stauffer and Ray Dealey on that group. And then Angel Blue, which I did about 8 or 9 years ago with Gerald Veasley and John Swana and some great Philly players. And then, of course, the new one, Free Fall. And what we try to do is we try to create a program that will be interesting in its variety. I mean, there'll be a bossa nova, you know, and then there'll be a waltz, and then there'll be a screamingly fast tune, and then there'll be a cute tune, and then a solo guitar piece.
Oh,
and really try to consider the audience, because I think it's one thing that jazz has not done well, which is to consider the audience and the variety of the presentation.
I happen to agree.
Too many times it's too fast, too constant.
Right, right. And I think Angel Blue pretty much sums up your concept, because that did have many different styles on there.
Yeah, it was. As a matter of fact, that album was subtitled A Tour of Jazz.
Oh, correct.
Yeah, because we had the little of the avant, a little of the more, you know, current stuff.
Yeah.
But the new one, Free Fall, to me is an amalgam of my original firepower as a young guitar player, and then the maturity of my composition from Angel Blue. And this, I feel that I've got the energy back when I was young and the maturity that I obviously have by not being young.
There's another album, I don't know if it's a CD, but you did Mirror Within a Mirror.
Well, that's a good point. Mirror Within a Mirror was actually an album, like vinyl.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? Yes, folks, I was around when there was vinyl. What happened is that one was remastered, combined with another vinyl, and that's what became Vintage Tracks. Okay. Vintage Tracks was a compendium of 2.
Okay,
right,
wonderful.
Exactly.
Okay, and your website?
www.chuckandersonguitar.com.
Okay. Wonderful, Chuck. I look forward to hearing and seeing you.
Terrific. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being here.
Sure.